It's always fun when you finish and you're like, wait a minute.
Um, Welcome to Monday Motivations, 52 Weeks to a More Purposeful You, Corry Mendoza and Linaya Bunbury. I'm so thrilled to have Linaya on the show today. We actually are just meeting for the first time, but I met her. So my friend Christina Forrester, she does weddings. I think she started working with you as like wedding gifts. And she's like, Corry, you would love this girl's work. And I love the art that you do. We're going to talk about it a little bit later. And so you're such an inspiration. And now that I'm just getting to know you more, I'm really excited to talk about, we are on week number 6, purpose. And so here's a little bit about Linnea. So she is a business owner. She's an artist and associate pastor in Seattle, Washington. So it's funny because it is raining over here today and it feels like Seattle, actually, here in Seattle, so you have a bachelor's degree in government and a minor in English, and you're a licensed minister. So since 2019, you've been an associate pastor at Calvary Christian Assembly in Seattle, Washington. So, wow, government, art, pastoring. Oh my goodness, you're such a wide, you're diverse, very diverse.
I am. Yeah, I am. No doubt. A little bit of everything.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. So, what did you think about this week's message, purpose?
Oh, I loved it. There were just a couple of things I pulled out. I love the Norman Vincent Peale quote where it says, if you don't have any problems, you don't have any seeds. I think a lot of times we are looking to have this life that has zero issues. And while one, that's unrealistic, but two, it's out of it's out of problems that opportunities arise. And so if we're just looking for a smooth life, well, then we don't also, then we're just kind of barring ourselves for opportunities for growth. And so I really thought this was interesting. My husband had just preached a message very similar to this, talking about storms. And he had given this analogy that I thought was great and might be of use to you who are watching. He loves drinking orange juice, him and my daughter, Lily, and he drinks this orange juice. It's Florida's natural. It's Florida's natural orange juice. He believes that pulp is good. I don't, but that's okay. So anyway, he went on their website and he was researching for a sermon. And the thing that they say is that they have, I might misquote him, but they have orange fields that are generations that have been going on for generations. These are very old orange trees, or orange orchards. And a thing that they like to go back to is that this saying that stood out to him that said, it's all about our roots. And so when we think about the roots, well, what's the big deal with the roots? The thing that makes those oranges so delicious, so sweet is, interestingly enough, storms.
Mm.
Because it is Florida, we know that they endure a lot of hurricanes, and it's through the storms, those intense winds, the roots only go deeper. And as they go deeper and they combine with other roots underground, there is a deepening work that is happening, which then enriches the fruit. Now, we always want to talk about, some of us want fruit. We want wonderful quality fruit without the digging deep. And it's just not possible. In order to get that flavor, or in order to get that richness in your life, the roots have to go deeper. And the roots, we are not disciplined enough in our own strength to just forge deeper roots. It's caused through sometimes external circumstances. It's caused through difficulty. That's when the roots go deeper. And through that, our lives are enriched, even though it's completely unpleasant. I will never say it's easy or pleasant, but it's so worth it at the end.
Absolutely. I just love what you're saying because um, you're right. We don't want the storm, but the storms bring the opportunity.
Yeah.
And those storms make our roots go deeper, whether it's in perhaps our belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when our roots grow deeper, then we produce sweeter, richer fruit.
Absolutely.
That pretty much what you're saying.
I'm a huge believer that the pain that we endure is never in vain. There is kind of going back, I mean, it is called purpose. There's purpose in everything that we endure, whether it's a horrible diagnosis, joblessness, relationship rifts, whatever that fill in the blank is for yourself. When you get over that hump, and not if, when you do get over that hump, you can be able to look back and say, that was horrible, but
Mm-hmm.
I can see how I came out so much stronger on the other side because I endured, because I I just relinquished and just went with it. Um, you made some interesting points here, Corey, where about our natural response. I kind of wrote down some notes where our natural response is just to try in our own strength.
Mm-hmm.
To and that's me. I am one for trying in my own strength, exhausting all of my exhausting all possibilities, and then petering out eventually because of discouragement, because my answers aren't working.
Yep.
Believe it or not, I am not great at solving my own problems. Um, but yeah, but then coming to the end of yourself, of realizing I can't. And that's not a negative thing to say
Mm-hmm.
I can't. Um, I think there's a lot of interesting messaging where you can do everything, but then it's like, well, maybe there are some things where it's healthy to say, this is my boundary and I'm unable to do this in a healthy way. So
Mm-hmm.
when you come to the end of yourself, that is a great open door for something new to happen. Um, a dead end can be an opportunity for growth. Now, like you said, Corey, I am a Christian. I'm a pastor, and I remember talking to a life coach, and I had this situation that I'd presented without giving a lot of details, but basically the thought was, I don't know what to do. And my life coach said, great, that's exactly where God wants you.
Mm-hmm.
In our, in our own strength, we're trying to figure it out, we're trying to fix it, but it's like, I think for me in my relationship with God, it's an opportunity to say, I can't, but you can.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can be a beautiful thing. And so embracing.
Absolutely. I love what you just shared because when we when we run out of our own strength and that's why I like when you were talking about the roots grow deeper.
Hmm.
In 2020 when everything was happening and things were closing, I did a little Facebook live video and I knew that what was happening in the world was bigger than California, bigger than the United States. I was like, this is big.
Yeah.
And the video that I
Yes.
made, I said, when I didn't call it a storm, but when something is so overpowering and overwhelming because it's so far out of our control, it really does cause us to go down to the foundation of our core beliefs and ask the big questions. Like
Yes.
for some people, the big question is there a God? And,
Right.
and for other people, I was already a believer. It's like, God, are you sovereign? Like,
Right.
can you do all things? Like since 2020, the storms that have been happening that are so big and just seeing things, especially with social media now, like seeing things like this concert where people are getting trampled to death. Like
That was
we're
sad. Yeah.
seeing so much. And it's like these types of tragedies, like you said, there's purpose in the pain. And even if it's to question, what do I really believe?
Yeah.
Like, God, are you real? And what does it mean? Like just all these big questions. So what are you, as a pastor, how would you speak to somebody who doesn't say believe in God and is going through a storm, while respecting their current belief system of not having a God? Like what would you say? I know it's kind of like a big question, but I'm just
No,
curious.
it's fine. That life coach I was talking to kind of gave me some helps in how to weather difficult situations. and he called them three graces. In grace, you can substitute even the word strength. And
Mm.
the first one was the grace to accept.
Mhm.
It's hard to confront and conquer. Oh, I'm sorry, I messed it up already. It's hard to conquer something that you're not willing to confront. It's
Mm.
hard to conquer something that you can't even acknowledge as existing. So
Mhm.
if we can come to an acceptance, and Corey, I'm gonna use the COVID-19.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just use that as a thing.
Yeah, that's great.
Um,
Everybody gets it.
totally, we're all there. Um, grace to accept. I don't like the situation. Accepting is not saying I'm okay with it
Right.
in any way. Acceptance is saying this is the reality of the situation. Um, for some people, the reality of the situation is COVID-19 got me out of a job. The reality of the situation is COVID-19 caused me to lose someone who I love dearly. The reality of the situation is that COVID-19 created dot, 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 dot.
Yep.
Being able to look at it and say, this is what happened. I accept it. I'm not saying I'm okay with it, but
Yeah.
I'm coming to the reality that this is what's really occurring, as opposed to pretending it's not there or just not a willingness to lean in. So that is one piece, the grace to accept.
Mhm.
Another thing is grace to submit. Submit is a very difficult word for
Mhm.
people. So let me rephrase the word submit to accountable to.
Mhm.
So I don't care who you are. If you are the most powerful person in the world, there is still someone in your life you are accountable to. I mean,
Mhm.
even the president of the United States, who is the most powerful person on earth, is still accountable to the constituency, the government. There's still someone that you're in accountability to.
Mhm.
So whoever that accountability is in your life, whether it's God, whether it's, even where you work, you are accountable to your boss. Even
Mhm.
if you're the president of your place, you're still accountable to your board. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
for me, if I were to make it bigger picture, I am accountable to God.
Mhm.
And so I will come under the submission
Mhm.
of what he says about this situation. So I'm one accepting, like, hey, you know what?
Mhm.
I hate what COVID has done in my kids' life when they were always at home and they couldn't have social
Mhm.
things happening with their kids, and I mean with other kids, and it was just tough to see them struggle through this. I accept that this is the scenario. I
Mhm.
submit, God, or I come under the accountability of what you say, that you have a good plan in this and
Mhm.
that you will take care of me, and I will just align it with, God's promises. For others where maybe that's not your accountability, figuring out the accountability in your life and what those structures are in place that you can lean on as your true north. And the
Mhm.
third piece, so accept, submit, the grace to relinquish, which is super hard because you know me, I am tight fisted. I want to hang on. I want to be in control. But it's truly the ability to relinquish
Mhm.
that I am not in control of the situation.
Mhm.
And I relinquish any extra responsibility that I really don't have to carry. I
Mhm.
think a lot of the times we are carrying more responsibility than we need to.
Yeah.
And so whether it's like, God, just show me what is the extra pieces that I'm hanging on to unnecessarily, or even whatever that accountability in your life that you can come to and say, hey, I'm carrying anxiety about this, this, and this. What is really my piece of the pie in this guy?
Mhm.
And so helping, those are ways that you can,
Mhm.
both in mind and in spirit, just process difficulty,
Yeah.
having the strength to accept the situation, having the strength to submit or to become accountable to,
Yep.
or and also the strength to relinquish.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. With COVID-19 and all of this, I kept falling back on what little history I do know about World War II,
Yeah.
and what, I think about some of the most tragic, um, terrifying, horrible things that people have gone through. And that is like Viktor Frankl, who wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning. He
Yeah.
was in a concentration camp, but he did that during the storm of imprisonment, and that horrible thing he accepted. And he writes about this in his book, about the people that survived and the people that didn't. So when we don't accept the things that are unacceptable, then we fight against it, and that could wear us out. that
Yeah,
could, that could be the thing that ends us because
totally.
we're resisting. So I love that. So number one, accept. So during the storm, accept, like, wow, I'm going to have to wait this storm out. And then I like submit, because it's almost a deeper level of accepting, because it's like, oh, I like Viktor Frankl. I need to get along with this guard. I
Yeah,
need to do
totally.
the report. Like, I'm going to have to cooperate with people that are murdering my relatives,
Right.
like during that period of time.
Yes.
And then relinquish control. And I think there's something in relinquishing control. Um, we have to have hope that
Yeah.
there's a positive end and there will be purpose to our pain.
Yeah.
And who's the other one? The guy who was in the ocean, what's his name? Louis Zamborini.
I have not, it's a movie, right?
There's a movie and a book.
Okay. I've yet to visit those. I need to though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at our church, he was a guest speaker. And so they
Oh,
played part of the movie. And I haven't read the book. My husband read it, but the movie is amazing. But just another example, like there's an end to the storm, but what is
yeah.
the storm going to produce in us?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. One of the most wisest things that we have been told by a friend who we had met just on chance was that he said, "This too shall pass."
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean to be glib or in any way overlook anyone's pain,
Mm-hmm.
because the reality of the situations that you may be going through are very real. And so
Yeah.
I don't want to overlook that. And it may seem like this storm is not ending, but really and truly, this too shall pass.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Ryan is my husband. Ryan and I had gone through a season of 8 months of unemployment.
Mm-hmm.
And that 8 months felt like a long time. And we were just waiting on what's the next step? What are we going to do? Do we move? Do we go back to Sacramento where we're from? And, it was tough. And so I wouldn't want someone to overlook my pain and just be like, no, 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 this too shall pass. But the
Yeah.
reality is that it does. I can look back on that season now employed, now in a much better place, and seeing, yeah, it ended. There was
Yeah.
a start point and there was a stopping point. And I can see how, even in the midst of a lot of uncertainty and pain, there was a design in place for my benefit. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I encounter people who are going through unemployment or uncertainty, I can speak to that. I can be more effective in how I talk to the people around me, because I can empathize on such a deeper level than I
Mm-hmm.
would have before the incident. It would have been like, oh man, I'm super sorry to hear that. Well, things will
Yeah.
look up. That might have been the depth. That might have been the depth of my roots in that
Right.
subject matter. But
Mm.
now, having gone through what I've gone through, I can speak to people and say, I'm so sorry. I've been in that same place too. A lot of the time, people around us literally just want understanding, listening, and empathy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am in no position to fix someone's cancer diagnosis. I'm
Yeah.
just not. I'm in no position to even employ someone who may be unemployed, but I am in a place where I can say, I'm so sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there too, or I can understand maybe some of the feelings you're feeling. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to sit by you. And
Yeah.
that, I mean, even that's purpose. That's one of those sweet fruits that
Yes.
develop out of the storm, where God can use things for our benefit and as a way that we can be a more effective minister or effective person to reach people with hope.
Absolutely. Well, it's kind of like there's different types of storms out there, right? So it
Yeah.
could be a storm with wind. It could be there's just different types of storms
Yeah.
in the weather, and there's different types of storms that we can all go through. And something my dad has, there's two things that my dad's kind of influenced me on. One is he would say, Corey, nobody leaves this world unscathed.
Absolutely.
Right. And it's like, but there's different ways that we can be scathed or harmed, or different
Yeah.
storms. And whatever our unique storm is, then those are the people, like you said, that we can reach. So if it's, I grew up without one parent, or
Right.
I lost a child, or I lost a parent due to death when I was 13, or I didn't have income for 6 months. And whatever the storm is, we will be, there's potential in it if we produce fruit in the storm. But I do think not everybody comes out of the storm better. Some people come out bitter,
Uh-huh.
and then there isn't purpose in that storm.
Correct. Sometimes people who come out bitter or uprooted in the storm become the example of what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
So even it's
Uprooted, I
sad,
like that.
but
Yeah.
it could even serve a negative purpose where it's like, well, I know I don't want to do it that way.
Yeah. Hey, and it's still useful.
Yeah.
There's, oh my gosh, we can't get away from this. There's still
I
purpose.
see nothing but good things here.
True. Well, it's something that I tell my clients a lot is I'm like I'll say, I know your situation is crappy,
Yeah.
but guess what? There's purpose in everything, because even fertilizer is crap. And it's
Yes.
literally going to help your flower bed. So
Yeah. Who
the
knew that? Yeah,
crappy things, right?
totally. You know, life can be produced out of death. Life is life-giving things can be produced out of seemingly dead situations. And
Mhm.
so if you can just hold on, I think, like, if I were to give a piece of advice to somebody,
Yeah.
like I kind of talked about those three graces or three strengths to accept, submit, and relinquish. But I would say to someone who's going through a hard time and just trying to find purpose in it,
Mhm.
I would say the best thing you can do is just trust the process.
Mhm.
Earlier you had alluded to that I'm an artist and I'm a painter. Here's the thing, it's like Bob Ross. I'm sure we've all watched Bob Ross.
Oh yeah.
There are moments, it happens every episode, where it's going so well. And then he does something and you're like, no, Bob, you just ruined it. No, 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 you did not just put the tree there. Or like, no, why did you do it that way? Like he kills me with this. And we all do it as a family. We allowed, no, Bob. But then he pulls out like a different brush or something and he starts highlighting on top of it. And you're like, oh, I get it. Oh, never mind. That does look better.
Ooh, yeah.
So it's like, you know what? Trust the purpose. I mean, trust the process. If you're in progress, you can't expect that something that's in progress is going to be the final product and that's what it's supposed to be. You got to trust. By the time he gets done and signs that portrait, you're just like, wow, that was so good, Bob. Good job. And you know what? Life's storms do that to us. If
Yeah.
you were to pull me out in the middle of a storm, yeah, it's kind of looking like that. No, what'd you do? It's not, it looks ruined. But if I can just lean in, trust the process, believe that this is going to work out for my good, there's hope that springs up out of that. And hope is stronger than fear.
Absolutely.
Hope supersedes the fear of, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get through this. Hope looks up, fear
Yeah.
looks around.
Yes.
And so if we can just lean in, trust that process with the hope of this will work out for my benefit, it will. And
Mm,
even if the solution doesn't look like how we thought it was going to, because believe me, there are situations where that didn't work very well and the
yes.
situation's over. Let's not forget that. There are those moments where, you were believing for this and someone passed away.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
what I wanted.
Yeah.
And we have to lean into that reality too. We need to trust the process. And
Absolutely.
so, once again, I don't want to be glib or overlook anyone's pain, but that is a reality that sometimes we walk away with a different conclusion than what we had wanted. And can we still find purpose in that?
Absolutely.
We can if we can just trust the process. We are in motion and it's going to work out for the best.
Yes. And I'm glad that you use an example of death and losing someone, because that reinforces the need. Like, yeah, you're not being glib, because these are sometimes storms are irrevocable, because
Yes.
there But then what it does is it really causes us to really question, what are our beliefs about eternity? Like
Yeah.
sometimes sometimes from death, people gain faith in eternity
Yes.
because the hope that I will see my loved one again. Like, there's a lot that we can go into that direction. But before we end, I'm going to share my screen, and I wanted to share some of your art. So let's see here, share screen. Here we go. Oh my gosh. So the Instagram page is Belief and Eden, and you have an Etsy shop, and I absolutely love your Bibles. So what Linnea does is you can send her. I like this one right here. You know, there's different looks, and you could, oh good, this is a video of you painting it. Um, but but yeah, you know, you can do like your favorite. Oops, I don't know how to work Instagram on a computer, but you can pick like your favorite scripture, a color scheme. I always end up sending her like 29 verses, and she's like, we narrowed this down to one.
Yeah, it's cool.
um yeah, and I like this one with the name, that's cute, the rainbow. But absolutely an amazing gift. I mean, I just love to buy these gifts for very special occasions. And then I haven't bought your ornaments yet, but that I'm, oh wait, you went live yesterday, huh? Or no,
I
Sunday,
did.
your ornaments. I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
go on Etsy and order me some ornaments. But yeah, so your art is just gorgeous. How long have you been doing Belief in Eden?
That started in 2018. I had been painting for quite a while, and I just felt a very strong nudge from God, basically, because I have this heart for anti trafficking,
Yeah.
sex trafficking, and yet I'm an artist. And so, how do you combine the two? And it was very clear to me that the idea was, why don't you sell your art and donate half the items for the Bibles, half the proceeds
Yes.
to these trafficking organizations, and then there's a sum that is sold off of every purchase that is given. And so that was a great idea that took me a long time to do. I am a crock pot, not a microwave, when it comes to thought process and processing. And so it took my husband taking pictures of something I did and basically pushing me in the pool and on Facebook and saying, "Hey, my wife is taking orders. Just message her."
You're like, why am I getting all these messages? I like him. I like
Yeah,
him.
it was great because I was waiting for the perfect business model. I was waiting for, I got to get my mission statement. I got to
Oh
get,
yeah.
I really overthought it.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad. Like I'm embarrassed to say that it took me as long as it did, but it kind of goes back to trust the process.
Yeah.
Even in that crock pot season, God was still stirring up and creating giftings to do it. So anyway, that started in 2018, so 3.5 years ago. And it's just bloomed into Bibles, journals, ornaments, those little pumpkins you saw earlier. It's just bloomed into different new relationships. I mean, Corey, we met through this.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It opened up a board position for me for a local trafficking organization called Rest here in Seattle. It's just interesting how a dream or even just difficulty can create purpose.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to that original thought, and I'm living proof of that. And so, thanks for shouting out the business. I love it. It keeps me steadily busy. It just gives me a platform to do what I love, but also fight what I hate. With
Absolutely.
trafficking and just being a part, just having an active role in that way, and using my gifts to do so.
I love that. Do what I love to fight what I hate.
Yeah,
I love that. Well, you know what? That's kind of what this Monday motivation is. It's like I was so behind the eight ball with all the social media and my business. When I started it, I made a website, and there wasn't all like TikTok and all this stuff. And
right.
and so because the more time went on, the more I was like, behind the 8 ball. And I'm like, I don't know how to get back in the pool because the
Right.
pool moved and I'm old now and I'm young. Come on.
Yeah.
So, but I was like, you know what? Like kind of like what your husband did to you. Just and I'm like, I'm gonna use what I already built a long time ago and
I
just
love it.
talk about it. And now I get to spend time with you. This was so wonderful.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
It's an
so
honor.
much. Thank you so much. We will definitely have you back on again.
Okay, excellent.
All right, everyone, have a great week. And remember, there is purpose in your storm. All right, bye bye.